Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the all new second generation Mini Cooper Electric, and this is the fifth generation of the 3-door Mini. Now this new electric version of the Mini has a way bigger battery than the outgoing model, and the range on this car is a lot better than on the outgoing model. Now in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this new electric Mini. I'm going to show you the interior, the exterior, and we're going to take the car out for a drive. The outgoing Mini Electric was a pretty cool car if you ask me, a really fun car to drive, but it had a major flaw, and that was its range. It only had a small battery pack, giving that car a range of only 234 kilometers. Official WLTP figures, because in reality it was more like 150 up to 200 kilometers if you were lucky. Now this new Mini is completely new from top to bottom, and this car is available with two battery sizes. The small battery pack has a capacity of 40 kilowatt hours and the bigger battery pack has a capacity of 54 kilowatt hours. Now with the big battery, and that is the version I'm driving right now, you get a range up to 402 kilometers. If you go for the smaller battery, you get a range of 306 kilometers. So either way, a big bump in range compared to the outgoing model, which again could only do 234 kilometers on a fully charged battery pack. Now I'm driving the car with the big battery pack, and obviously in reality it will do a little bit less than 400 kilometers. I started off driving this car this morning with a full battery pack, and the car gave a range of 320 kilometers. But you have to keep in mind that I'm driving the car at a mini event at the moment, and this car is being driven every single day by a completely different person. And I can imagine that some people are really pushing this car at this event, so I'm not sure if the range is really accurate, if the calculation is really accurate. So maybe in reality the car will do a bit more than 320. And I can imagine that if you're driving this car not too hard, you might be able to get up to 350 or 370. And if you're only driving this car in the city, you will be able to get the 400 kilometers of official range. If you're not driving too fast, if you're only staying within the city limits, you'll easily be able to get up to 400 kilometers or even more. But if you're only staying within the city limits, you're probably better off buying the version with the smaller battery pack. And if you go for the smaller battery pack, you get an electric motor that produces 184 horsepower. If you go for the bigger battery pack, you get the same electric motor, but it will produce more horsepower, 218 horsepower to be exact. So that car will be slightly faster, however it will be a little bit heavier because the battery is a little bit bigger. And with the smaller battery pack and a little bit less performance, the car will do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 7.3 seconds. Now the charging rate also differs between the versions. If you go for the bigger battery pack, you can charge up to 95 kilowatts, and if you go for the smaller battery pack, you can charge up to 75 kilowatts. So either way, not super impressive figures when it comes to charging. With both battery packs, you need around 35 minutes to charge from 10% up to 80%. So not from 20 to 80, but from 10 to 80. And charging the car at home or at a public charger, you can charge the car up to 11 kilowatts, which is pretty good. Now, just like the outgoing Mini Electric, this car feels very fast, very zippy. It's not the fastest car out there, obviously, but it is still a pretty zippy, fast car, and basically all Minis are a lot of fun to drive, and even this electric Mini, which is a little bit more heavy than a regular petrol Mini, is a lot of fun to drive. And I even think this car is more fun to drive than a John Cooper Works petrol version, which is their top model, their top sporty version. But because this car has instant torque, you can really go on the accelerated pedal quite quickly when you're coming out of a bend, making this car so much fun to drive. And again, this car is not too heavy, and this car has a really nice suspension setup. It is a bit on the firm side, obviously, being a Mini, but it's not too harsh. It's comfortable enough for a daily driver, and it is comfortable enough for a city car, but it is a little bit on the harsh side, but that is what makes this car so fun to drive. The front wheels do sometimes struggle a little bit with all the performance that they have to endure. It's 218 horsepower in this version with the bigger battery pack and 300 newton meters of torque. So quite a lot of torque, quite a lot of horsepower on the front wheels. So you do get a little bit of torque steer, but it doesn't make this car less fun to drive. The exterior design of this new Mini is completely new. Well, I say completely new, it still looks a lot like the outgoing model. However, if you zoom in on the front end, you can really tell the difference between this new version and the older version, because this new version has a way cleaner design compared to the outgoing model. Take for example the bonnet, you don't get the hood scoop anymore, which you will get on the outgoing model. And also take for example the wheel arches, they are very clean. You don't get any plastic cladding around the wheel arches, which you will get on basically any car nowadays. I think this is the first car in years maybe that doesn't have plastic cladding around the wheel arches. Take also for example the door handles, they are flush with the door. By the way, these are BMW door handles. BMW is obviously the owner of Mini. And there are also new wheels. You can get from 16 up to 18-inch wheels, and these are the 18-inch wheels. The design at the back end of the car is completely new, and it is mainly the tail lights that have a very different shape compared to the tail lights on the outgoing model. They have an almost triangular shape here in the back, but they still have the Union Jack pattern in there. But you can also get different patterns. These are LED tail lights, and they can have all sorts of patterns here in the back. And the overall design here at the back again is very clean. You get this very clean and simple back bumper, and even the diffuser is very clean as well. You can get a more aggressive back end design if you go for the John Cooper Works. Then you get a really massive spoiler here on top and a really massive diffuser down here below. Now the trunk capacity on this car is what you might expect, not super impressive. You get 200 liters of storage here in the back, and if you fold down the back seats you get 800 liters. There is a sub trunk, but if you go for the subwoofer option, the subwoofer basically takes up all the space. The interior of this new Mini is really new. It doesn't look anything like the interior from the outgoing model. In the outgoing model you had a really classy interior with a lot of black leather and aluminum toggle switches. I think it looked really cool, really classy, but maybe a little bit outdated, maybe a little bit too classy for modern times. This new interior looks a lot more modern, a lot more playful. You get completely new materials. They are completely different compared to the outgoing model. No more black leather, no more any leather whatsoever. It is all now cotton or wool. It almost looks like it is knitted, and the entire car is covered in the interior with this knitted material, which I think looks really cool, and it also feels very nice to the touch. It's really soft. You even get a little bit of that soft material in the steering wheel. As one of the spokes, you get a 2-spoke design, or actually a 3-spoke design, but the 3rd spoke is made out of the cotton material. It's like a soft piece of fabric here on the lower part of the steering wheel. Now here in the center you get a new massive round infotainment screen. It's a really funky and modern screen to look at. There's a lot of compute power, so it's a really fast system, and it is pretty easy to operate. It runs the new Mini operating system 9, and obviously you can also use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It has a really funky layout, and it uses OLED technology, so you get really crispy graphics. Now as standard you don't get a digital gauge cluster, and you don't get a gauge cluster at all in this car, which is a little bit of a letdown, because you always have to look at the center display if you want to see how fast you're driving. So I would always advise to go for the optional head-up display, so you can always see how fast you're driving without having to move your head to the right. And on the head-up display you can also see the navigation map as well. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button, and then I'll see you in the next one.